this could be our sand hills. This could be something where we don't move anything.
Because we kind of knew in the back of our minds that this place could be something, but didn't know what exactly it could be, but it had aspirations to be something very big.
You got to know when to charge and you got to know when to back off. You got to know when to say, hey, bogey's good enough. You better put your ego in your ball pocket, because if you think you're going to overpower, good luck.
Get in the hole!
Boy, David is all. You can see him trying to bring that ball back to the right.
Oh, what a shot!
That is amazing. This guy can hit that 3-wood like nobody else.
An opportunity to host this large event, the eyes of the world on us, natural in its beauty. It is Mother Nature's golf course.
Koepka, a major champion.
You can only build a golf hole so many ways, but what changes and what makes them really memorable are the settings. Erin Hills is a place that you remember every shot. April of 1988 is when I started with Mike Hertzen, but Ron and him knew each other, I think, back into the 70s. Ron used to come to our office to do research because Mike had almost every golf book ever written. I mean, it was crazy. So they knew each other, and when we were doing the interview for the job, he said, what do you think if we do this with Ron? Because it might give us a one-up on everybody, and that's sort of how it happened. When Mike Hertzen and Ron and I first got involved in the very early 2000s with the original developer of Erin Hills, the goal was to really just move as little dirt as physically possible. From the day the golf course was first planned and started, the intention was to build a U.S. Open type venue, because the USGA people, at the time David Fay ran the USGA and Mike Davis worked under him. And they came out multiple times, even before the course ever started construction. And they knew the potential of the site because of the way it sat with the big dramatic valleys and hills.
And when we brought Mike Davis out, I thought he was going to, spend an hour and stand around and say, well, good luck. And we walked the whole site. He was here for at least 5 hours. And he was mesmerized by some of the holes, like 17, like 18, where he said you could put 10,000 spectators on this ridge alone. And he said this might be the best, spectator course ever built.
Erin Hills started out as kind of a low-budget facility. It was meant to be a golf course that you can play for $100, and then all of a sudden you got this kind of interest in, maybe it's the size and scale of it, the topography, the fact that it could host a lot of people on it. It's a great area for our spectators. We started to get some interest in, could this be a championship caliber area? And the golf course went from, simple property to, let's kind of push things as much as we can. There was still interest in Erin Hills hosting, a men's open. We had the amateur already, and we were in a position where the amateur started to become kind of in question, where, if we didn't have a stable financial position, we didn't know if that was going to be a possibility or not. So we're 2 years out kind of questioning, what is the future of Erin Hills? And that's when Andy Ziegler steps in, has some conversations with executive committee at the USGA. They expressed their interest in Erin Hills hosting future championships, and I think that just kicked it all off.
As soon as you see this land, you're going, oh my God, look at this. This land is perfect. How do we put a golf course on this land and change it the least? What makes this land special is the perfect rhythm between the highs and the lows and the lefts and the rights. The valleys and the peaks and the hollows and they just flow and roll together in a perfect harmony that you just don't find except on links land. And this is basically inland links.
This is untouched, and it's a dream of any architect to let Mother Nature dictate the course, and that's what we tried to do. Sometimes Mother Nature is kind of funky, like on the 8th fairway that's sloping in the wrong direction from the hole, but it was there. The second green was there. The 9th green was there. Those knobs were there. When we were finished, we all felt like we did what every architect dreams of, and that's just going out and discovering a golf course instead of building one.
10,000 years ago, 8,000 BC, the glaciers started way up somewhere around the North Pole and came down, and as the glacier started receding and melting, it had scraped away half of Canada and a lot of northern Minnesota and Wisconsin. And basically those are all glacial outwash features that are out there now. Our job was not to screw it up, and it was our job to find the balance of the best 18 holes, not just one or two or all. We balanced. We want a perfect balance. And the way we did it is, for the most part, is we'd find a green site and say, yep, this has got to be a golf green, because we're not going to change the grade more than a foot. So now, how do we play to this green? Do we play from over there or over there or over there? How are we going to approach? So then we would decide on the best way to approach it. And so the golf course, in my memory, was designed backwards. Find the best green sites, find the landing areas, and then find where the tees ought to go. So that way we didn't have to go in and mold the land to make it fit. We were discovering the land to fit that green site. There's no out of bounds. There's really no water hazards. There's no forced carries. There are no trees in play. And so the character of this golf course is defined by slope, defined by wind, and defined by the bunkers. This definitely has evolved over the years, and because it has high visibility and with championship qualities, it gets a lot of input from a lot of different people, whether you want it or not.
I spent 36 years with Golf Digest trying to educate golfers to appreciate architecture more. I don't know how much of an impact it really has.
A missionary, Ron, that saves a few souls. That's how you got to think about it.
And if you get the normal, if they get winds in the 20 and 30 mile an hour range, the 9th hole's brutal. Play it docile, as good as the players are, male and female. The best players in the world, and it's not that hard. But if it gets windy, that hole is a nightmare.
This is our 9th hole, which is our 7th at Pebble Beach without the ocean. But you can see some of the little notches in the bunkers.
Yeah, and this was the green. We always knew it was going to be a green, but we didn't know what direction. It could have been playing from up on top of that hill in.
You go to a lot of these courses that are faux links, trying to be, especially in America, and there's one hole that's got a lake on it, and the architect always has to use it. So they always play around it in one direction or another. And it's just, it's the temptation is strong to use that feature. And for whatever reason, we felt like it just didn't fit the motif.
Before the U.S. Amateur, I was out there with Andy Ziegler and Mike Davis, and we got to that hole, and he asked, what's the deal with this? Because the bunkers have these little notches or cubby holes or whatever, where a ball can get in there and you cannot swing at the ball and move it towards the green. You have to pitch backwards or sideways. And I explained to him that this was our 7th at Pebble Beach and we didn't have an ocean, so the bunkers were going to be our ocean. And if I go in the ocean, it's a stroke penalty. So these bunkers, you had the possibility of being a stroke penalty. And they looked at each other and said, makes sense, and we moved on. In certain wind conditions, you're hitting more than your wedge or 8-iron or whatever. And in other wind conditions, you're having to aim a little bit towards a bunker just to let it drift over towards the green. I know it's Dana's favorite hole, and it's one of my favorites.
Always referred to as the heart of Erin Hills because it's probably the best topography on the whole on a place with great topography. It's the best part of it all. Virtually no grading on that golf hole. The way it exists, there's a little bit at the green, a little bit of fill in there to build the pad for the green, but the tee shot and through the fair, there was just virtually nothing. It's just scraping away the old vegetation, farm type scrubby trees that were nothing. But we got rid of those, and basically it hits down a valley, goes up a hill about 35 feet, and then it's the hills, and then it's got 2 little knobs on either side of that, so you're hitting over this crown with these knobs on the side. But then the landing area is down in the bottom, and it's blind, and then it just got that meander with then the big hillside on the right at the green. It just topographically, it literally looks like you're playing something in Ireland. I mean, it is a really tremendous piece of topography.
I don't know if iconic is the way to say it, but I just think it's a golf hole that is, it kind of speaks to Erin Hills. It speaks to, a golf course that did not move a lot of dirt, a golf course that, was able to take the terrain and the contours that were here and turn it into, an incredible hole. So it's got a ridge that, probably comes up 30 or 40 feet and then it comes back down to just this like small green. There's not a lot of man-made features to it. It just allowed players to kind of experience, these incredible contours and topography of the golf course.
Thing I like about this, there isn't another hole that I can think of that's like this hole.
In the world.
It is really unique.
Yeah.
And it's hard as an architect to come up with some idea that's actually unique. I wish we could take credit for it, but it's just all Mother Nature.
Yeah.
All we did was scrape it around and, clean it up. When we first came out here, it was dense trees in front of us, and then there was a little meadow, and then the hillside where the green is was all dense trees. I went home, I looked at the topo map, and there was this funny little, what we call a volcano. It was just a big bunch of circles on it. And I said, I want to go see this volcano. So we crawled through the trees and got up there, and I mean, we were sorting through trees and everything, and you got up there and there was a kettle hole on top of that hill, and it was about 6 feet deep. Then when Mike came back, we went and looked at it again, and we thought, this is perfect. We can put a green up here.
Yeah. You can see how those bunkers all of a sudden become much, much more meaningful the further you go in these tee markers. A marker here now says 320. So at 320, even a reasonable player is thinking, yeah, if I carry a 260 or 70, I can carry those bunkers.
This is what it was from the very beginning, just an erosion that rolled down, widened out like water would do. And this was the one where we just hydroseeded to see whether it would grow or not. And Mike's right, it's not growing right there and growing right there, but it's growing enough that it actually looks rugged and natural, which is what we were trying to do with these bunkers. When you're down here, I don't think you can see the flag from when you're in the sand. Yeah. And the other thing is this bunker actually rolls downhill. Most courses have bunkers that are either concave or flat, and we got this one that kind of just rolls naturally with the terrain.
Yeah, even with that hole location right there, if you hit a little bit to the right of the hole location with a little bit of spin, you're playing your next shot from down there. Because that's going to roll all the way down this hill. Holy Hill was, I said we didn't know any preordained holes, except that how can you pass that up? I mean, how many chances can you get where you can play east, play from a high spot down into a windy valley to a green that's perched up in front of that clubhouse with Holy Hill right in the background.
Justin Thomas with a chance here with a birdie.
Just a butter cut. Blasted it over those bunkers. That was a big carry. 286.
Yeah, this is fun.
Is that it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
That looks impossible.
Get in the hole.
Oh, he came in his line. You can see him trying to bring that ball back to the right.
Oh, what a shot!
That is amazing. This guy can hit that 3-wood like nobody else. Dead center.
History.
Walked it.
Justin Thomas. A third round 63. And the best single round in U.S. Open history.
You know, there's certain projects in your life, you know, when you're working on it, you're working on like long after I'm gone. Hopefully there's good stewards of the land after Andy to come down the road that take care of it, because I think it's going to be one of those places that people will always take golf pilgrimages to. Erin Hills really is a trip that everybody that does the Buddies golf trip, if they don't play Erin Hills, they're missing out. And with Erin Hills, it's the friendships that have been made, Zach and John Morissette and Jim Reinhardt and Andy Ziegler and Rich Talk and, you know, Jim Lombardo, if I didn't say his name. There's just so many of these people that you share these ups and downs with, just like you do in life with your wife and your kids. And, you know, it's just the way it is. And every one of these golf courses is like that. It becomes just part of your life. And Erin Hills is a huge one because of the events it's held and is holding this in a couple of weeks and will hold in the future. So it's just it's a big part of my life and always will be.
To bring golf to the masses and to bring golf to a facility where, you know, I can go and I can play, you know, I think that kind of created some excitement. You know, I know that a lot of our daily guests that come here, you know, we're on a bucket list. They want to play a golf course that has, you know, played host to these national championships. So I think us being able to, you know, provide that experience to guests is something that we're really proud of.
It will test him, but it will be a fair test. But as you notice when you're out there are certain green contours, there are certain fairway contours, and there are certain slopes that if you're just barely over a little ridge, it's going to gain speed and roll off and roll down into trouble. But that's Erin Hills, and that's what makes it such a good course for U.S. Open.
They've said it a bunch of times, and I'll coin the phrase too, is that they give Mother Nature a seat at the table. Whether she shows up, that's her decision. You know, for the women to have this stage, the championship is life-changing, career-defining for these women, and the excitement that women's sports has, and to have it here and to try to make it the best that it could possibly be, with record-setting attendance the last 2 years out at Pebble, then at Lancaster. We're ready to set it here. I know fans, spectators are going to come to be a part of this iconic event here in Wisconsin and at Erin Hills.